picking a mission, I'm going to do a cargo mission, which is going to require my Cessna 172. Even though I just got a brand new Diamond aircraft, I'm trying to grind some credits to get it up to full spec, get it up nice and running smooth. So when you pick a mission, I want to move into the Denver region. I'd like for this to be uncovered so I can see missions in this area. Break into the Denver economy. I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but when I go to pick a mission, the first thing I do is I look at the flight path that it's giving me. This is like the standard default flight path. You don't have to take it because where's my airplane? My airplane currently is sitting down somewhere in Utah. But you can see runways here. Actually, I'll just do it in here. The runway's here. You're going to take off in this direction. This is your initial climb left bound, and then you're going to go straight at this point, and then the GPS will take up, and you'll be doing the GPS path to the next airport. And it doesn't auto-populate any waypoints along the way. And then at the end, almost every single time I've done a mission, it wants to do the teardrop. And the teardrop is you enter here, you make a left-hand turn, you come around, you do the teardrop, which is why they call it that, I guess. Come back around, make another left-hand turn, make another left-hand turn. This is your base. You're setting up for landing. This is your full landing configuration. Landing gear down, flaps, whatever, set in the right position, and then your speed should be at the right speed, roughly speaking. And then you're usually like 500-600 feet above the runway at this point. You're just coming in for a landing. But for takeoff, I don't mind doing a VFR straight. If it had an RNAV option or an LNAV option, I would pick that because it would auto-populate like altitudes on my departure, which makes it a little bit easier if you're using autopilot. But since it doesn't have that as an option, VFR straight works perfectly for me. The one thing that I do like to do is I do like to set up like a, and I'll do this in a minute, but I do like to set up like custom waypoints, and I'll show you why. So that is VFR pattern straight, and then for my landing, I do not want to do the teardrop because I think the teardrop is annoying. I'd rather fly farther out, come around, and then make a long approach in. So let's see if that's an option. And I don't think it is. You can click on it, and then the pink, I think, is the change. If I did that, it's like L auto. I don't really see much difference when I click these. I don't know the difference. Like I said, I'm not a pilot. Didn't already know that. So this is an easy one. So I would come in from the pink line to the downwind, and then I just basically make the left. So basically when I hit downwind, I should be pretty close to landing altitude. So that's probably the one that I'll do. We'll stick with that one. So you have to hit change procedure. And then it has auto-picked my altitude at 8,000 feet. And I'm going to change this to 10,000. Just making this a 10. And I don't have a good reason for that, other than I know I'm flying through the mountains of Colorado, and I'm pretty sure those mountains are close to 8,000 feet. And then the route planner, you can come out here and see like the actual route that you're going to fly. The thing that I've noticed is it doesn't, no matter what I do, I can't figure out what the altitude of any of these like areas are. Just have no idea. And so that's why I picked 10,000 feet. I figured 10,000 feet is probably safe. Guessing, I have no idea. I'm sure there's a better flight planner software. I know there's a better flight planner software out there that I could use to build the same flight plan and then input it manually into the GPS and the aircraft, but I just like to click on things in the game that I'm playing, so I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to set up 2 custom waypoints. One probably here-ish. We're going to add that after. Great. And one here-ish. Add to flight plan after my custom waypoint. And then just for funsies, I'm going to do 2 more customs. I know I said 2, but I'm going to do 4. And right after takeoff, so we'll say here-ish. Flight plan for this guy, and then we'll do one more maybe here, and after that little guy. And so it'll make more sense why I did that in a second, at least from a I'm lazy and I'm making this easy for myself perspective. I'll plan with air traffic control and then send route to avionics. I think if you click it here, you only have to do it the one time, and then just looking at it, if you hit Q, you can actually go through and look around. And it's not showing up properly, possibly because Denver's like 5,000 feet, so I don't know why the blue line wouldn't be showing up. But yeah, okay. So we're going to accept the mission. We're going to transfer my aircraft. It's going to cost me 4,200 credits to transfer because my airplane is currently in Utah. Like I said, I'm trying to break into the Denver market. So here we go. And then in here, we have to go to management, fuel and payload. We want to make sure we have enough gas. I don't know how to calculate this, or I don't want to feel like dealing with it, so I always just put 120 because it seems like for a 3-hour flight, that's a safe bet. I had one flight where I had like a pretty heavy headwind, and it was cutting it close. I think I had like 2% fuel left by the time I landed. My airplane's looking real dirty, but I don't care about that. They charge you 600 credits to fix it. Yes. And then we're gonna hit fly. And I do use a HOTAS, so right now I'm just making sure my HOTAS is configured for takeoff, or basically sitting on the ground configuration. So in this airplane, you need the choke all the way in. The flaps need to be at 10% for takeoff in a normal takeoff scenario. And then I have my brake bound to a lever since I don't have foot pedals. And so my brake lever I just put at the bottom. It does have head track, but it doesn't really work that good yet because this game is basically just a beta. So it is a ton of fun. Do the pre-flight, airplane, and then enable head tracking because it irritates me. So while we're sitting on the ground, I will pull up my flight plan real quick and show you why I picked those waypoints. Flight plan. All these altitude markers here are blank, and basically that guy, so it'll scroll, and then this guy, I want him to be 10,000 feet. 10,000 feet. Enter. Same thing for this guy. Ceiling of the 172 is 10,000 feet. Fun fact. Actually, we're going to go 1,500. I guess before I assume that's right, let's go check the altitude of the runway. The runway is at 4,000 feet. And so my second and my last elevation marker. So these markers are just on my flight plan. These need to be probably considerably lower than that. So let's go 7,000 feet. And this guy is going to be, I try to aim for like 1,500 feet above my runway. So if it was, what was it? I just saw it. It was 4,000 feet. Let's go 1,500 feet. 5,500 feet, excuse me. And now, in my flight, my aircraft will automatically change altitude, so I don't have to calculate when I need to start descending in order to hit these waypoints on my nav, which is very helpful, especially when you're coming in from 10,000 feet. And then the other thing that I like to pre-set up is on takeoff. So runway 9 has a heading of, I don't know, probably tells me right there, 09. It's probably 9 degrees or something, or 94 degrees. I don't know. Initial climb has a heading of 94 degrees. So I like to set that in the nav. And I'm using my outside controls here, but 94 degrees. And then I kind of preload the autopilot. 94 by selecting heading. Get it here so you can see heading. And then I'd set my vertical speed to be, I just default to 300 feet per minute for takeoff. And then I set my altitude to 10,000 feet. That's going to be our target altitude. 1,000 feet. And then, yep, that's it. So once I take off, I can engage autopilot once I have steady controls and a good climb, and I know that I don't need to go around. Not that this game would ever throw me a situation where I would need to do that, like a bird strike or something, but I know that I'm good to climb, and then I'll be able to climb at 300 feet per minute until I change the autopilot mode, because there's another mode called flight level change, which is a bit more safe to use than just the vertical speed climb, but it'll climb until I hit 10,000 feet. And then once I hit 10,000 feet, I can default back to these values over here, and then the navigation will automatically do the altitude changes for me. So now that all that is preset, the next step is my choke needs to be all the way in. My throttle needs to be all the way down, which is all the way out. And then we're going to start the engine. So pull this guy over.
Hi there.
Nice and easy.
It's Pamela. Now that
Then
you're
I
all
go
set
and
up,
set my
let me
flaps
go over
usually
the
at this point
important
too.
details
So
with
flaps
you.
are here. Again, I'm using my
We're
HOTAS
carrying
to do it.
boxes of goods on this flight. Shipment is
And
from
the
our
last
partner
thing is I
site
got
and
yelled
time
at the first
critical.
like
You must
10
reach
missions that I
Haxton
didn't have my
ASAP.
stupid landing lights on. So I turned my
Our
landing
sensitive
lights
cargo
on, my
containers
strobe,
are
and my
built to
nav.
handle
And we're going to
turbulence,
taxi
but
first, so
maintain
I
a
usually turn my
constant
taxi
flight
on as
speed.
well.
Let's keep our delivery on time and safe.
And then somewhere in here, oh, there it is,
All relevant
PDOT heat.
information is
Make
in
sure
your
the
flight
PDOT is
packet,
on,
which
so
is
that way
uploaded on your map as a
I can
reference.
actually accurately read my airspeed.
Fly safely, team.
All right, park and brake. Off. Announce taxi. Why am I playing this game? I know my brother's very interested as to what is keeping me playing it, because in theory this is just really boring. You do your management stuff, you take off, you engage autopilot, you let it do its thing, and then you land. Not a lot of gameplay there, but I just love the satisfaction of like finishing my flight. Not paying attention. Let's see. Is that the runway it wants me to taxi out onto, or is that a taxiway? I guess not. It's not. Okay. It's done that to me a few times where it's like, oh, taxi out onto here, and then it has me pull out the runway, and then it dings me for pulling out the runway without telling the air traffic control that I'm doing it. Yep, there it went. I knew it. Oh well. As far as I can tell, there's no other way that I could have gotten here without taking the runway anyways. Yeah, I've noticed that in this game, it will ding you for it every time almost. Those are those career mode bugs. I hope they work out, but I will get penalized for that at the end of the mission, which irritates me, because, you know, I'm playing this as a game, not as a flight simulator to be like a ultra-realistic simulator person. I'd like for the game elements to work properly. My windsock is nice and flaccid, I guess is the word. I don't know. Limp? Not moving? Hopefully telling me that I'm not going to crash on takeoff because I have horrible crosswinds, which the game loves to give me. Alright. So here we're flaps 0, flaps 10, trim 0, full throttle. As soon as I get enough airspeed, I try and keep the little heading indicator centered on the center line, and then like a half yoke down to keep the nose wheel on the ground, because if the nose wheel starts to buffet, I lose all ability to steer. The rudder is just not quite enough at the slow speed, it seems. Again, not a real pilot. 50 miles an hour is roll. Here we go. Come on. And once I get above 60, I usually pop the flaps in. As soon as we're nice and stable, I'm matching that magenta line. I will engage autopilot. Look at the predicted path up there. You see that? It's like, am I in a fighter jet? Holy crap. This thing can barely climb at like 500 feet per minute. But then when I engage autopilot, I very slowly let off because it uses the trim wheel to manage the pitch of the airplane, and yeah, takes a second for it to catch up. Close to mine to this ground. Close. I don't think I'm going to clear that mountain. Might have to do a little looper-ooski. We shall see. If that's the case, I'm actually going to take over here. Pull into this canyon. Seems like I can probably fly through here while I gain some more altitude. Also flying 8,700 feet, and the Cessna seems to require trimming or choking the engine to get best performance. So I just choked it a little bit. You can't see that because it's off screen, to hopefully help with that a little bit. Turbulence here. Got a tailwind, 15, 18 miles an hour. Now if I engage autopilot on heading mode, it's just going to fly the heading I had previously set, so I'm going to use my outside control system here to sync the heading to my current heading, and then set autopilot back up. We're going to go to 400 feet per minute because I feel like that's a safer climb rate. Actually, we're going to switch to flight level change mode. So flight level change mode maintains an airspeed while trying to meet your targeted altitude. And so in this case, in order to maintain 70, what is it set to right now? 75 knots or whatever. It's telling me I can climb at 1,300 feet per minute. It can't sustain that. It's just because I don't know. Maybe it can sustain that. I guess it can. I'll bring it back down. We actually need to go higher, it looks like. We're probably going to go up to 11,000. It says 17,000. I don't think the ceiling on this thing can go that high. 14,000 feet. So we can get up a little bit higher. We'll try 14,000. And then the other thing that I will do is I'm going to swap from heading mode, to where it'll just maintain the same heading for the rest of my flight, and I'm going to swap over to my flight plan. And so my next waypoint is the FL 0000, and I can find that by opening up my flight plan menu here, finding flight plan 0000, and then hit this button, which means direct to. Then once I pull it into the direct to here, I'm going to hit enter, and then enter. That's going to activate it. So this is telling me that that's the GPS designated path, and then in order to swap over to GPS, I actually have to press the navigation button to go to GPS mode. And then it says GPS up here, and here we go. We're off on navigation mode. And again, I'm not going to clear these mountains in front of us, so we're going to have to get a little creative, I think. We'll see. Maybe we'll get there. Now that I'm in the air, we'll take the landing lights off, taxi lights off, the beacon light on. Check that my PDOT 2 heater is on. Check. And I can probably go through some engine choking procedure here. If I can't get a little bit more performance out of this motor, make this climb. Need this tailwind to be kind of more in my favor instead of just jostling me everywhere. Look how dirty my plane is. So fun. Based on my outside view, I don't know still if I'm going to make this or not. I would love to know if this level of turbulence is realistic. Would the Cessna pilot just not take off in these conditions? Because this is insane. It would tear the airplane apart. So, are we going to clear this mountain range or not? My outside view, yeah, it looks like we're going to make it. Inside view, I don't think so. I saw a reviewer say that this is one of the problems with the flight sim is that they swap over to heading mode real quick and take this ridge line and try and get some more altitude. The AI generated missions, they're just randomly generated. They're not smart, and they're not they're not curtailed or anything, and so they'll put you into positions like this where the Cessna just can't make that climb. So we're trying our best. The old girl's trying, but if this mountain range is like 15,000 plus feet high, there's no way for me to get past it. which case I'd have to have a better flight planner tell me where to go. It looks like to me I'm just flying along a ridge here that's not going to give me any reprieve. Maybe through this canyon here I can make a better chance of getting through. I don't know. Still, that's a long ways away from where I want to be. Hey, an alive pilot is a happy pilot, right? So what I'll probably do is I'll probably just skip this one and go direct to this next one when I get there. Then once you make a change, you send route to avionics. It should populate there. And then I can say flight plan. Which one is this one? This is 001, direct to, enter, activate. Right? Am I about to crash? I think so. What happens? This is the real GPS. This is like a real in reality a real GPS that airplanes actually use. This is a Microsoft Flight Sim GPS, and I can come in here and see if it thinks I'm going the right direction, which it looks to me like I am. I did some part of this right. Then, man, I am struggling to get any altitude on this airplane. Yeah, I know. Like there's any chance a real pilot would have ever attempted any of this. I have to go around this mountain too. Man, this is a pain. It's definitely my worst career mode attempt yet. If I was in my new Diamond, I could just power through all of this with new beefy engines, it's better climb rate, it's higher service ceiling. Fly off script here for a little bit, go around this big mountain part. Fly into the headwind as much as possible. See on my indicator, I am not able to get any altitude at all. Little red line on my speedometer there is my projected speed, which is super handy to have. So being able to watch it, I know if I'm losing speed, I can dip. If I'm gaining speed, I can gain a little bit more altitude. Heading. Back in flight level change mode. Fly this heading for a minute. My waypoint is somewhere there. Turbulence is killing me. Chill out once I get away from the ridgeline. When I choke the engine, which is what I was just doing, I am trying to get my RPMs to be as high as they possibly can right now. Give me the most power as possible. Now that we're far enough away from that awful wind shear, I still have a 40-mile-an-hour headwind. Crap. I don't think 14,000 feet is going to help us. The fact that I just cannot get altitude or get speed up either. I usually cruise at like 95 knots. I know it reset on my elevations in my flight plan. me those stall warnings because as the wind speed changes from 40 headwind to, you know, half of that, my airspeed just suddenly and abruptly changes from 60 knots to 40 knots, and my stall speed on this aircraft is like 50 or 48 knots, I think. If I could get up high enough, keep power on, it would make life a lot easier. Wind shear would chill out at 1,000 feet. Is it enough? Clear these mountains? Nope. You can see this is a legend that tells me the altitude, and the 10 is just showing basically that you're, you know, not going to make it, and this whole area is just showing up as either 6, 8, or 10. I'm terrible with colors, so it's hard for me to tell for sure. But here's some yellow. That's where we want to be. Getting close. 13.5. Oh, sweet. We can make it go over that. We're just going to do that right now. I'm using the heading mode to change my flight plan on the fly. We're going to cross the gap in the mountains right here. I'm very clearly above that area right there. Try and maintain this altitude. Not go far enough with my heading change here. I'll keep going to the outside view to see if I'm going to be flying in the right direction or not. And that's because I think a real pilot would probably just lean up in a seat. Oh, shut up. I'm gonna stall, chill out.
Stall, 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 stall.
Yeah, I think a real pilot would probably just lean up in a seat, look over the dash, and say, yeah, I'm gonna make that. Or more likely make a better flight plan from the get-go. It's like Alaska bush piloting almost. This wind shear is going to get terrible as we get to the top of this peak. I need it to go to the left. I'm changing my heading to the left just ever so slightly to try and get it to steer that way. And the wind shear should taper out as we get over the mountain ridge. Alright. Redlining my engine, which I'm happy with. Over that line. There we go. Cleared the mountain pass. I'm going to go to flight plan indicator 3. Direct to enter. Gives me a new flight plan to follow. And then we are going to swap to navigation. And looks like I'm not turning, and that's because my heading is actually like, what's that, 8, 9, 10, 15 degrees off my nose. Look at that. Through the mountains. We're going to maintain 14,000 feet for a minute, though, because that was some very nonsense.